Thank you for tuning in to Healthy Air, Healthy Communities, a monthly series produced by WNIN and funded by the U.S. Department of Transportation Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Program. We want to inspire each of you to do your part and cut back on energy use, whether it be turning off the lights when you leave a room or making the choice to walk or ride a bicycle instead of driving the next time you need to run errands nearby. It's the little changes we make in our day-to-day lives that add up to a world of difference. In this program, we'll discuss the negative impact that idling has on our environment and how simply turning your engine off can improve air quality and save you money. There are also things we can do in our own backyard to reduce energy use and cut back on monthly bills. We'll share those ideas with you as well. And gasoline. Did you know the recipe changes with the season? What other changes are being made to America's fuel? In our first segment, we're looking at the National Ambient Air Quality Standards. What are they, how are they measured, and why it's a good idea to pay attention to the forecast, especially during the summer months.
The science and the standards of air quality have developed over the years. Right now in the United States, the US EPA, through the Clean Air Act, sets air quality standards. We know them as NAAQS, National Ambient Air Quality Standards. So they set a level, they choose a level that is protective of the public health with an adequate margin of safety.
So they set these standards and then they say, okay, at 76 parts per billion over an 8-hour average, this is unhealthy for sensitive groups for ozone. So that's when we call an ozone alert, is when we think we're going to hit that 76 parts per billion or higher. Now, ozone kind of rises and falls with the sun. So you can go out and take your morning walk. You can go ride your bike in the morning, that's fine. You know, ozone's not there. It starts peaking about 12 to 3, and by the time 6 or 7 o'clock hits, it's beginning to decrease. So you can take an evening walk. But it's those critical hours in between, and it's especially those sensitive groups like children, active adults, people with respiratory conditions that we're worried about. And those are the people we call the alerts for.
When it comes to exposure, there are 3 things that are important, and that's the level of the pollutant or the concentration, the dose, how much you inhale. So children, for instance, inhale more per body weight than adults. Athletes are going to breathe more air than somebody sitting on their sofa. And then there's the length of time that you're exposed to those concentrations.
US EPA has come up with basically an easy-to-use, color-coded table of what's good air quality. And it basically follows the stoplight. You know, green is good, yellow is moderate, then there's an orange, which is unhealthy for sensitive groups. That's when we call ozone alerts or particulate alerts. Then there's red, unhealthy for everybody. And then there's purple, extremely hazardous. Now generally, our air quality is in the good to moderate range, whether it's for ozone or for particulate. Every once in a while, we think that the air quality might get bad enough to be unhealthy for sensitive groups, or that orange level. And that's when we call the alerts. Most of those pollutants do come from combustion, whether it's gasoline or coal or diesel or whatever, or even wood. Particulate certainly is, combustion's a big culprit there too. So, which gets into that whole energy use and air quality are completely linked. Basically, it's conserve energy of all kinds. And even though you think your contribution or one little action that you take might not make a difference or won't make a difference, the fact is when you've got 100,000, 200,000 people and everybody chips in and does just a little bit less, it really can make a difference.
There are many ways people can find out about them, so however you like to get them, we do our best. You can sign up for daily emails through EnviroFlash. You can go to the city-county website and see the air quality forecasts. You can go to the State of Indiana Department of Environmental Management and get the forecast there. These forecasts are also available with our federal partners at the US EPA at airnow.gov. EPA has an app. You can sign up for through the city and county to get email alerts for an ozone or particulate alert. We will send you an email.
Air quality is everyone's responsibility. We all add to it, and we can all make it better.
For many Evansville residents who drive to work, the average daily commute is about 25 minutes. With a portion of that time spent waiting at stoplights and drive-through windows, excessive idling is something that we can avoid with a little effort. According to cleanaircampaign.org, frequent restarting has little impact on the engine components like the battery and starter motor. Stay with us as we investigate some common beliefs and reveal the truth behind idling and its contribution to air pollution.
You know, we as a population drive on a daily basis, and we don't typically know what we're emitting from our cars. Car emissions comprise of a number of very toxic chemicals. Those chemicals include carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxide, particulate matter, and benzene, amongst other things. Idling, for example, we as a population tend to engage in unnecessary idling, and this emits far more carbon dioxide. When people drive, and just to put things into perspective, when you drive and when you burn 1 gallon of gasoline, you're essentially producing 19 pounds, roughly, of carbon dioxide.
The rule of thumb is that for every hour one of those big semis idle, it's about a gallon of diesel that they're using. And say diesel's $4 a gallon, and you idle 1 hour every day in your truck. That's 7 times 4, so it's $28 you've wasted. And then you multiply that by 52 weeks, and then you multiply that by a fleet of 100 or more semis, and you realize that even tiny amounts of idling can really create an economic impact for the trucking company, as well as putting an awful lot of air pollution and soot into the environment.
Idling typically occurs in a number of situations. So for example, idling occurs in situations that we may not be able to control, and that's in traffic or where you're at a traffic light.
Anytime people are waiting in line, whether it's at a school to pick up your kids, or at a drive-through window, or in a traffic jam, those are real good situations. You're going to find a lot of people idling. If your car's in good shape, the rule of thumb is you can turn off your car if you're going to sit for more than about 3 minutes or so, and turn it back on, and you're actually saving gas.
Well, usually I will do that if I'm in a long traffic jam, if I'm stuck on the interstate. I'm going to be there for a while, then I'll shut the engine off. Unless, of course, it's really, really hot in the summertime, then I'll leave it going to keep the air conditioner running. As far as coming up to a stoplight and turning it off at the stoplight, there's always a chance that it doesn't start again, and then you cause a traffic jam.
Idle, because you're only at a stoplight for, I think the maximum is 90 seconds. Like starting your car over and over again is bad for your car.
Contrary to popular belief, idling actually produces more car emissions than restarting your engine, and it also wastes more gas than restarting your engine as well. So if you idle more than 10 seconds, you're essentially creating unnecessary pollution.
There are some traffic lights that are long enough that you could easily shut off your engine and save a little bit of gasoline doing that. If it's a fairly short traffic light and you know it's a fairly short traffic light, then I wouldn't, and I don't.
I mean, there's probably advantages to starting your car up in the wintertime and getting it to warm up before you get into it. It warms the heater up, and it also warms the engine up before you take off down the road and possibly reduce the life of your engine by driving too quickly.
I would try to leave your car running for at least a couple minutes. That way, you know you're not like running off freezing water, freezing gas in your engine.
What I've always read is that idling is actually harder on your engine than going. It's really not necessary. If your car's in decent shape and has been maintained well, you shouldn't have to warm up your car a lot in the winter time.
From a public health standpoint, prevention is the key. Although we cannot prevent inhaling car emissions, we can take actions to decrease the number of emissions. If you're going to a place that's within walking distance, why not walk instead of driving? If you're idling, turn off your engine, especially if you're at a school, because the kids are coming into contact with these various chemicals. Another way is to monitor the air quality index of Evansville. Typically, the air quality index is pretty good, but some days it's moderate. And when there is a moderate air quality index, that means that the susceptible population is more vulnerable to exposure to these chemicals. So it's important to monitor the air quality index. And then lastly, it's very important to keep your car maintained. Typically when you buy a brand new car, pollution from the car is very minimal. But as a car is being driven and it's being aged, the emission control system degrades, and therefore pollution increases. So it's very important to engage in proper maintenance and tune-ups of your car to decrease the number of chemicals that are being emitted.